I am saying that the rogue specs I'm most familiar with, Assassination and Outlaw, require a lot more to get into than a lot of other DPS specs.
You know what? Fine. I'll try Subtlety Rogue. 2 weeks ago I released a video about why so few people play Rogue in modern World of Warcraft, but I had one major blind spot. I've almost never played Subtlety Rogue. All of my experience on Rogue has been on Combat, Rest in Peace Legend, Assassination, and Outlaw. And then I read your comments. A lot of you told me that all my issues would be solved if I switched to Subtlety, so I decided to do a little experiment. For science. Can I switch to Subtlety on my 198 item level rogue and get my Nightmare Prey weekly and maybe some +8 delves done? And will I have fun? So let's switch to Subtlety and let's fix whatever's going on here, what a mess, and find out what these abilities do. No Thistle Tea in this build? Huh. I guess Subtlety doesn't have energy problems. After 5 minutes of cleaning up my action bars, it was time to run over to Astalor for my first Nightmare Prey. Prey is this expansion's new outdoor content feature, and doing 3 of them on the hardest difficulty will give me guaranteed great loot for a solo player. They can also be quite punishing, especially if you're a freshly leveled squishy rogue. I was pretty intimidated to start any combat on Subtlety, so I decided to ease myself into the Prey by doing this vehicle world quest. Easy Prey progress and no shadow dance required. But I can't do that forever, so I decided to do some actual combat. Wait, you're telling me every builder gives full combo points now? I didn't know this at the time because I was jumping in without reading the Wowhead guide or my talents apparently, but through a talent called Shadow Techniques, your auto attacks have a chance to generate energy and store up combo points. When you then use a combo point builder ability, you get those extra combo points. Wow, sub-rogues. Must be nice.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
I had apparently turned on the rotation assistant in the past, and it was yelling at me to use Shadow Dance, Shadow Strike, Secret Technique, and then my target just got annihilated. Okay. Like you don't need better defensives or survivability if your target never even has the time to look at you. I mean, this Anguish dies in like 8 seconds and I have no idea what I'm doing here. So I move on to the real meat of doing a Prey, flying to the Prey world quest and opening the traps until Astalor says you're done. When Astalor pops out of nowhere like a jump scare,
train their anguish,
tells me to kill a target quickly or suffer the consequences, I feel comfortable enough to fly around to pick my target. And rightfully so, it took me 3 seconds to take out this Hydra. But the real test was coming up because can I kill my Prey target? No. Just kidding, yes I can. But it took me 3 times because A, I'm an idiot and I lost damage by using my abilities out of order. No Shadow Dance for my first Secret Technique, really Syl? Secret Technique does indeed go burr, but not if you do it wrong. And B, this particular target is a paladin with ranged attacks and at some point you kind of run out of stuns and defensives. But the 3rd time, I remember I have Warbound healing potions and I try this crazy technique of actually pressing the right buttons in the right order, and I actually kill him without any issue. The whole thing took 13 minutes, and I get a massive 72 item level upgrade on one of my rings. Were my first 13 minutes on Subtlety Rogue fun? Well, yes, actually. I can understand why seasoned Subtlety rogues might feel like it's not that complicated or difficult anymore, but I enjoyed the flow of the rotation and I could feel when I made a mistake or when I had a little bit less energy between shadow dances. And because I could do more upfront damage, the spec felt less punishing defensively than, say, Assassination, where you're tanking way more direct hits overall because your bleeds and poisons take a while to come together. So it was great not feeling like a wet paper towel for once. The other 2 Preys were a smooth ride that took 8 and 10 minutes. Bosses were easier, and I also had better gear. I used my cheat that once because there was nothing around me I could quickly kill when Astalor demanded it. Because I got my 3 Nightmare Prey down, so it's delve time. While I was successful doing my Nightmare Preys, I wasn't feeling fully ready for delves as Subtlety. Mostly because I still spent 90% of my time looking down at my bars to see my abilities. Look, I just completely ate that frontal because I looked at my bars. Thank you once again, Cheat Death. As a reward for doing 3 Nightmare Preys, I had an item called Beacon of Hope, which you can use to call the seasonal Nemesis boss to your delve. You fight him or his little buddies in this case for a bit, and then he runs off and leaves you with a cache with some loot and also a bounty map. The map gives you the best loot you can get as a solo player right now without having to wait a week for the vault. And it was easy, almost too easy if we compare it to whatever this was last expansion. And that's another 3 items to add to my character. I was now item level 224, a big jump up from 198 a few hours ago, and I was getting more familiar with Subtlety. I now also understand why people call it a 2-button spec. because in AoE you can do a lot of damage just cycling back and forth between Shuriken Storm as your builder and Black Powder as a spender. And with that, I was able to hit over 120k DPS at my peak. Excuse me. Look at this pack absolutely melt, hello? I apologize to all the subtlety rogues out there, I wasn't familiar with your game. If number go up is fun for you, then this is fun. Rogue still doesn't really bring much to a party in terms of utility, so let's hope that one of their specs can stay strong in AoE content. I'm still not a fan of the whole ninja theme, and thinking about it longer, it actually feels like the spec fantasies and playstyles of subtlety and assassination are mixed up. But subtlety right now feels nice to play, especially during shadow dance windows. Those little shadow clones that pop out when you do secret technique are pretty fun. They were sometimes hard to see, and they will never be as good as the floaty guy Shadow Priest has. Look at this army of floaty guys. But my experiment wasn't done, because sure I could survive with my friend as Blood DK there, but could I do a delve alone? Well, with Valera's help, of course. And to make it even harder for myself, I decided to do them at tier 10 and then 11, something I hadn't even done on my paladin yet. Special shout out to Vici, I hope I'm saying your name right, for reminding me that the Trickster hero talent tree gives you a talent called So Tricky. With this talent and the ability Tricks of the Trade, you can redirect all threat to another player, or crucially in this case, Valera, for a full hour. That means you will never have to face tank any direct damage, all aggro will automatically be transferred to Valera, and then you can also set her up as healer and you basically cannot die. Another sad moment for all the assassination rogues that do not have access to this god tier talent setup. Anyways, back to subtlety, the tier 10 delve was so easy that I almost felt like I was being pranked. With Tricks of the Trade, I was never in danger. Valera got injured a few times, but I think that's mostly down to the fact that I didn't spend hours leveling her to 45 the week before the season launched. So into a tier 11 I go. And here's where I thought it was going to get difficult. Wow, I'm actually taking damage. Maybe this will be harder. Outside of the fact that I wanted to play a healer this expansion, I picked Paladin as my main so I could play a tank spec for solo content, for its survivability. Sure, it takes a little longer, but you can easily clear a tier 11 delve week 1 of the season. I did this because I had PTSD from trying to main mage in the beginning of the War Within and getting absolutely clowned on in delves. But I guess my mistake for not picking up Subtlety Rogue earlier, because the tier 11 delve was an absolute joke. And the reason why I was taking damage was because I didn't apply Tricks of the Trade to Valera. Whoops. Well, I actually did apply it, but I forgot you had to apply it during combat. Silly me. My first and only hurdle on Subtlety Rogue came when I tried to clear the Delve Nemesis boss, and that was mostly down to Valera taking little naps on the floor. I think I should probably level her before I come back there. After that brief break, I finished the rest of my praise and delves to fill my vault, and I end at 236, 38 item levels higher than I was when I began this experiment. I don't think I could have done this on Assassination, especially not a tier 11 delve without So Tricky, and by switching I was able to actually play the game and get better gear, which will help me if I ever decide to switch back to Assassination. In fact, I did try a tier 11 delve with my higher gear, and it wasn't as dangerous as it was before, but I still didn't really like how Assassination plays, unfortunately. While I was working on my Prey video before the expansion came out, I actually tried a hard mode Prey as Assassination with item level 198 as well, and it was harder than the Nightmare Prey was on Subtlety. I wasn't planning on playing Rogue this season. I was planning to get around to leveling it eventually this expansion, but definitely not as my third character. I leveled it because the class breakdown percentage intrigued me. Why do so few people play Rogue? But I didn't really like that experience on Assassination, and I was ready to bank that character back into my emergency alt warband camp, or maybe even the camp. But then I read your comments and decided to try Subtlety, and I'm honestly surprised by how much fun I had and how I could do so much solo content without running around in 2% health. Even without Valera and So Tricky. I was actually excited that I leveled this character for the first time. So was I wrong in my other video? Well, I stand by my complaints about Assassination, the overall class toolkit, hero talents, animations, and transmogs, except for Bloodfang of course. Switching to Subtlety didn't fix those issues. But as somebody who's always had a soft spot for Rogue, it did make Rogue fun for me again, if only as an alt. And I think I'll keep it around as an alt for now, maybe even do some dungeons on it soon. I even did LFR on it to try to get a tier piece, and yes, I was the only rogue there. I understand why it's not a class for everyone. It has a reputation of being complicated and only for PvP. It doesn't really bring anything unique to the party. It is a pure DPS melee class. And Blizzard forgot pickpocketing is a thing. Subtlety showed me there's at least one version of Rogue I like playing right now, though I wish I could say the same for other specs, but class and spec balance is a topic for another day. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.